Gemini, a phone call will change your life in the next few days. Stay tuned. There are moments in life that arrive like a whisper before they roar, quiet, subtle, almost forgettable, until they shift everything. You may not realize it yet, but something is already moving behind the scenes. A message is being prepared. A line is about to connect. And yes, your phone may be the very portal through which destiny speaks. Not metaphorically, literally. Have you felt it? That strange pull toward your phone, even when it hasn't rung. The phantom vibrations, the increased instinct to check your messages, or that odd feeling of anticipation in your chest. That's not restlessness. It's your energy field tuning into something that hasn't yet happened, but soon will. A call is coming. One that carries the weight of timing, transformation, and truth. This isn't about fear. It's about readiness. Because when it comes, you'll know, even if the voice on the other end seems casual, even if the words sound ordinary, there'll be a subtle current in the air, a shift in your breath, a part of you that leans in and says, "This is it." And Gemini, when that moment arrives, nothing will ever be quite the same. If you feel this message stirring something in your spirit, an inner knowing you can't quite explain, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Because what's coming is more than information. It's initiation. Gate 1. The signal has already been sent. Gemini, before a message arrives physically, it often arrives energetically. Long before the phone rings, long before the name flashes across your screen. Something begins vibrating within you. And lately, you've felt it, haven't you? The slight urgency, the intuitive pulls, that quiet sense that something is trying to reach you, but hasn't quite landed yet. It's as if you've been living at the edge of a sentence that hasn't been spoken. This is not your imagination. It's your field tuning into a transmission that has already been launched. You see, the universe works in subtle ways. It doesn't always knock loudly. Often, it whispers through instinct, déjà vu, sudden memories, random dreams, or the feeling that someone is thinking of you. You might notice your phone more often, even when it hasn't buzzed. You may feel like you've forgotten something important, but you can't name it. These aren't distractions. They're signals. Something or someone is trying to connect. For Gemini, a sign ruled by Mercury, communication is sacred. But this time, the message isn't just casual. It's catalytic. And the channel will arrive through is one you already know, trust, or have a subtle soul tie to. Perhaps someone from your past. Perhaps a guide in disguise. Perhaps a stranger whose voice will sound uncannily familiar. Take Maya, a Gemini with a 12th house moon, who spent weeks feeling an inexplicable need to reread old journal entries and backtrack through her message archives. One afternoon, she received a call from an old mentor she hadn't spoken to in 5 years. The call wasn't long, but it carried one line that shifted everything. "I recommended you for something. Expect an email." That opportunity led to a publishing deal that changed the trajectory of her creative life. But the real story wasn't the call. It was in how her intuition had prepared her for it. Or consider Dewey, a Gemini rising, who had recurring dreams of his old business partner. He hadn't thought about her in over a year, but suddenly her name kept appearing. On LinkedIn notifications, mutual friend mentions, even in random YouTube comments. A few days later, she called to a proposal. "I have something I think you were always meant to do." What began as a reconnection turned into a complete reinvention of his purpose. And he nearly didn't answer. Gemini, the reason you're being asked to stay alert right now isn't because the universe is testing you. It's because you're standing at the edge of a powerful reveal. The message isn't just external. It's internal. It's not just that someone will call you. It's that the call will activate something already living inside you. That's why you're being asked to recognize the call. Not by name or number, but by resonance. You may not recognize the source, but you will feel the shift. There will be an air of electricity, a sudden presence in the space, as if the conversation is being carried on a current bigger than both of you. And your body will know. Here's what you need to remember. This call has already been divinely scheduled. The timing is not random. It will come through only when your energy is receptive enough to receive it clearly and act upon it. And yes, it may arrive at what seems like the wrong time. during a moment of distraction, while you're busy, or even when you feel emotionally unprepared. But Gemini, you are more ready than you know. And if the call has already come and you missed it, don't worry. The universe is patient but persistent. If it is truly meant for you, it will circle back. But your job is to stop brushing off the nudges, to stop silencing the knowing inside you that something is coming. You are not imagining this urgency. You are picking up the frequency of what is about to enter. Your next step is not to predict, it's to prepare. That means slowing down just enough to listen. Keeping your phone close, yes, but more importantly, keeping your awareness closer. That means answering the call, not just a literal one, but the inner one, the one that's asking you to make space. Stay open and trust that what headed your way is not a disruption, it's direction. And when the call comes, whether it's an offer, a confession, a reconnection, or a realization, you will feel it land in your chest like truth. You may not know all the answers in that moment, but you will know without a doubt, this is the message I've been waiting for. So breathe. The lines are open. The message is moving. And Gemini, it's already on its way to you. Gate 2, the call will break your pattern of delay. Gemini, one of your greatest gifts is your ability to see all angles. You hold a unique ability to weigh perspectives, to dance between possibilities, to think your way through any labyrinth. But sometimes this becomes your prison. Indecision doesn't come from a lack of options. It comes from the fear of choosing one and losing another. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to regret. So you postpone. You overthink. You tell yourself you're processing when deep down you're actually just scared. And that fear has kept you circling the same terrain, living in maybes, hesitating at thresholds. But now, the universe has orchestrated something that leaves no room for delay. A call, not just to your phone, but to your soul. This call will arrive like lightning, not loud, but illuminating. In a moment, you'll realize you've been sitting on the edge of this decision for far too long. You've waited for clarity. You've prayed for signs. You've journaled and asked others and looped the question in your head endlessly. But none of it has led you closer to a firm choice. Until now, the conversation that's coming your way won't give you every answer. What it will do is remove all your excuses. It will be so aligned, so direct, so timely, that something deep inside will finally say, enough, it's time. This moment is not about pressure. It's about liberation. Because when you choose, truly choose, you unshackle yourself from the weight of potential and step into the freedom of momentum. And Gemini, momentum is exactly what you need now. You've lingered long enough in roles that drain you, in cities that don't feel like home, in relationships that leave you questioning your value. The call that's coming will confront you with a choice that has been waiting in your spirit for months. It may come as an offer, a project that excites you but requires a leap. It may be an old connection reigniting something you thought was over. It may even be a hard truth, a mirror that reflects back how far you've drifted from your true path. But whatever it is, it will move you, not because someone demands action, but because your soul will finally recognize that there's no middle ground left, only forward. Take Lena, a Gemini sun who spent years juggling multiple passions but committing to none. She told herself she was multi-potentialed, but the truth was, she feared failure. Then one day, a former client called unexpectedly, offered her a lead role in a project she once dreamed of. "You're the only one I trust with this," he said. Her heart leapt, but her mind panicked. She wanted to delay, to weigh the pros and cons, to check with her partner, her calendar, her coach. But something in her body overrode the cycle. "Yes," she said, before her brain could object. That one word unraveled years of hesitation. She didn't just say yes to a job. She said yes to herself. Or Arjun, a Gemini rising who kept telling himself he'd move abroad someday. He kept saving links, watching vlogs, talking to expats. Then came the message from an old colleague. "I need someone to lead this team in Barcelona. You're the first person I thought of. Can you be here in 6 weeks?" Every part of him wanted to stall, but he knew this was a call, not just from his friend, from life. Gemini, What matters here is not what the call contains, but what it triggers. And what it will awaken in you is decision energy, an energy that cuts through noise, that silences doubt, that tells your body what your mind keeps resisting. That clarity doesn't come from endless thought. It comes from movement, from choosing, from trusting that even if it's not perfect, it's progress. The pattern that's breaking now isn't just indecision, it's self-abandonment. Every time you delay a decision that your soul is begging you to make, you chip away at your own trust. You start to believe you're not capable of acting on your truth. But this call is here to remind you, you can. And not only can you must, because your future depends on it. And here's the secret most people never say out loud. Sometimes we wait for life to push us because we don't want the responsibility of choosing. If it falls apart, we can say, well, it wasn't my idea. But Gemini, the time for passive living is over. This moment asks for your full presence. It doesn't require perfection. It requires participation. When the phone rings, literally or metaphorically, you'll feel it. Your palms might sweat. Your chest might tighten. You might instinctively want to delay. But listen deeper. What are you actually afraid of? The mistake or your own expansion? You don't need to be fearless to decide. You just need to be clear enough to move, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart races. The call is not asking for your certainty. It's asking for your willingness. So when it arrives, let the pattern end. Let the loop dissolve. Let this be the moment you say, I'm done waiting. You don't need all the steps. You just need one, your next one. Gemini, say yes to it, even if you're still shaking. Especially if you're still shaking. Because that's how revolutions begin. Not with guarantees, but with a decision made in faith. Gate 3, a conversation that changes your coordinates. Gemini, some conversations are not just exchanges of words. They are portals. They reorient your inner compass, realign your emotional gravity, and shift the entire architecture of your perception. The phone call that's approaching or perhaps has already arrived is not merely a turning point. It is a reset of your coordinates. After it, your true north will no longer be where it used to point. Something deeper will be awakened, and life will no longer look the same. What's so profound about this moment is that it may appear subtle on the surface. The voice on the line may sound familiar. The words spoken may seem simple. But beneath the surface, energy will be moving. Reality will be rearranging itself around the frequency of truth. Because that's what this call carries. Truth. Not just information, but revelation. And revelation, Gemini, doesn't just inform, it transforms. You've lived in a loop of potential for so long. You've held visions in your mind, desires in your heart, and dreams just close enough to taste, but never quite within reach. You've told yourself, one day, while pushing into the distance. But the call that arrives now collapses that distance. It brings someday into now. And you will feel it as a subtle cracking inside your chest. The old scaffolding of waiting, giving way to the raw open sky of readiness. Gemini, your soul has been quietly preparing for this. All the emotional restlessness, the sleepless nights, the growing discomfort in spaces that used to feel safe. These were not random. They were symptoms of a spiritual upgrade waiting for its moment to break through. And now that it has, nothing half-hearted can survive. Think of Carla, a Gemini moon with Mars in the 9th house. She'd been working a high-paying job that she once loved, but now merely tolerated. She kept hearing a whisper within, there's more. Then came the call. A former professor, now running an institute abroad, invited her to lead a pilot program in environmental strategy. It sounded risky. It sounded disruptive. But it also sounded like home. She cried after the call, not from fear, but from relief. She finally remembered who she was before she started dimming herself to fit in. Or Arlo, a Gemini rising with Neptune conjunct to mid-heaven. He'd been struggling in a creative rut, doubting every project he touched. Then one afternoon, his sister forwarded him a voicemail from an old collaborator. I had a dream about you, the voice said. We're supposed to do something again. Soon. Arlo could have laughed it off, but instead he called back. That reconnection didn't just birth a project. It birthed a version of him that had been buried under years of burnout. Gemini, you are not just receiving a message. You are remembering a self that's been waiting behind a veil of overthinking. This call is not merely about what someone else wants to offer you. It's about what your own life wants to reclaim. A passion, a voice, a clarity, a sacred direction that once felt lost, now returning with instructions. This is when you realize the call is not the miracle, the you that rises after it is. And that version of you, they're bolder, not because fear has vanished, but because courage is rooted. They speak more simply, love more honestly, work more intuitively. They no longer ask for permission from the outside world to change. They simply move. And that movement alters everything. You may find your priorities shifting within days. What mattered last week may feel irrelevant now. The obligations you tolerated may feel unbearable. The conversations you used to entertain may feel hollow. It's not because you're becoming difficult. It's because you're becoming aligned. You're no longer available for versions of life that ask you to betray yourself in order to belong. And in this new field of awareness, decisions begin to unfold like petals, not forced, not rushed, but organically from within. A new routine emerges. A new project begins to stir. A new version of you begins to lead. This doesn't mean the change will be easy. In fact, some of it may be uncomfortable. You may outgrow certain spaces. You may feel resistance from those who like the version of you that stayed quiet, agreeable, undecided. But that discomfort is not danger. It's evidence that you're no longer contorting yourself to fit into lives that weren't built for your expansion. Gemini, this is your soul becoming louder than your fear. This is when your words stop trying to please and start trying to reveal. When your path no longer twists to accommodate expectations but flows from integrity. When your time becomes sacred. When your energy becomes sovereign. When your presence starts walking into rooms like it belongs there. Not because it's flawless, but because it's true. The call is not behind you. It's not in front of you. It's within you, echoing now in every choice you make from this moment forward. So don't downplay what's changing. Don't second-guess the clarity you found. Don't apologize for the shift in your tone, your direction, your expectations. The coordinates of your life have moved. You're not circling anymore. You're walking forward, bravely, fully. And the version of you that once only dreamed of this moment, they're watching you now, and they're proud. Gate 4. When the outer world rearranges itself around your inner shift. Gemini, once your internal coordinates change, the outer world cannot stay the same. What you tolerate, what you desire, and what you magnetize begins to transform. The phone call that recently came, or is soon to arrive, will not just change your mindset. It will begin a ripple effect through every environment, dynamic, and decision you're entangled with. Because when clarity touches the core, confusion can no longer remain in the field. After this shift, you will begin to notice it immediately. Subtle at first. A conversation that feels suddenly out of sync. A space that used to comfort you now feels claustrophobic. A routine that once fit now chafes against your skin like a too tight garment. This isn't drama. It's realignment. And Gemini, it's not that your world is falling apart. It's that it's finally starting to reflect who you are becoming. You'll begin to crave cleaner communication. Not filtered, not pleasing, but honest, direct, and soulful. Words will matter more. Empty small talk will feel like noise. You may find yourself pausing before speaking, not because you're afraid, but because you now understand the power of what leaves your mouth. You'll want your words to heal, to guide, to build, not to distract. And in that clarity, relationships will either rise with you or dissolve. You may experience certain people becoming quiet, distant, or resistant, not because something's wrong, but because something has shifted. You no longer match the frequency of people who only knew you as indecisive, overly accommodating, or energetically scattered. Now you're steady, clear, sovereign, and that version of you can only sustain relationships that breathe in truth, not obligation. Think of Noor, a Gemini sun with Mercury in the 7th house. After receiving a call from an estranged friend, one that resurfaced old truths and offered an apology she didn't even know she needed, she realized how much energy she had been investing in relationships that didn't invest back. Over the next few weeks, she began to feel discomfort during conversations that used to feel easy, not because they were suddenly bad, but because she was no longer willing to pretend. That one call, which began with soft remembrance, ended in a life where her connections became more intentional, more reciprocal, more real. Or Jamal, a Gemini moon with Saturn in the third. His ship began after a mentor reached out unexpectedly, inviting him into a role that demanded his voice be heard publicly. He'd spent years playing the background, staying agreeable. But the moment he said yes, everything changed. He couldn't go back to being silent in meetings. He couldn't downplay his opinions to keep peace. His external world had to rearrange to accommodate the leader he had become. Gemini, your words now carry direction. Your energy now emits clarity. So expect life to reconfigure. This may look like ending friendships where you're always the one initiating, setting boundaries with family who dismiss your growth, changing the tone of how you speak at work, declining invitations that pull you into old patterns, saying yes only when it feels sacred, not socially expected. And don't be surprised if new people begin arriving, almost magnetically. These are individuals who don't need you to explain your growth. They recognize it because they're on a similar path. With them, conversations skip the surface. The energy feels lighter. Time feels expansive. These are soul collaborators, not energy consumers. Their presence won't demand from you. It will expand you. Your physical environment will also call for revision. You may feel the urge to clean, declutter, rearrange your space. The lighting might feel off. The clothes in your closet might no longer feel like they match your essence. This is because you're no longer dressing to blend in. You are dressing to embody. Your home is no longer just a place to return to. It is becoming a vessel for the energy you wish to live inside. And your daily rhythm? It too will shift. Gemini, you are ruled by motion, but this new version of you no longer thrives in scattered movement. You crave focus flow, not rushing, but purpose, not multitasking, but meaning. You'll begin to say no to tasks that don't nourish your path. Yes to moments of intentional solitude. You'll wake up and ask, what is aligned for me today? Instead of, what do I have to do? This is the gift of the call. It awakens the truth of your energetic economy. What you spend, what you receive, what you absorb, what you give, all of it must now be in balance. There is no space for chaos disguised as passion, or relationships disguised as obligations. You are in the era of conscious choosing, and that starts with how you arrange your life. Gemini, this is not about burning everything down. It's about blessing what no longer fits and walking softly, bravely, into what does. The decisions you make now don't have to be dramatic. They have to be honest. And every time you choose what aligns, the universe responds. It says, yes, I see you. Let's build your new life now. So clear the space. Release the noise. Let your surroundings rise to meet your soul. Because you're not just waiting for life to show up anymore. You're recalibrating everything to match the frequency of your becoming. And in that frequency, only what's real can remain. Gate 5. When you become the calm in the center of the shift. Gemini, after the storm of realization comes a stillness of embodiment. You're no longer the one waiting for change. You become the one who anchors it. The call that stirred your intuition, cracked your indecision, and restructured your outer world has now done its deeper work. It has brought you home to yourself. This is the moment where you shift from seeker to source. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding from peace, from presence, from power. What's unfolding now is subtle but profound. There's a new tone in your voice, a new way your feet meet the ground, a new silence in your mind that wasn't there before. It's not that life has become easier, but you've become clearer. You no longer panic when plans shift. You no longer contort to fit timelines that aren't yours. You no longer trade your peace to keep someone else comfortable. You've learned something sacred. Your grounded presence is more valuable than any performance. This is what true transformation feels like, not louder, but deeper. Gemini, you used to ask for signs. You used to wonder when it would be your turn. But now you are the sign. You are the walking proof that growth doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. People around you will begin to notice. They may not say it directly, but they'll feel it. Your presence will either calm them or confront them. And either way, it's medicine. Because when you live in alignment, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Take Elise, a Gemini sun who always filled the space with wit and adaptability. But after a life-changing message from her estranged father, one that began with pain but ended in truth, she realized she didn't need to keep moving to be meaningful. She began speaking less but more clearly. She made fewer plans, but lived more intentionally. And one day, a friend told her, "You've changed. Being around you feels like a deep breath." That's when she understood. Her healing had become her presence. Or Julian, a Gemini rising who built his life around external validation. Work accolades, social proof, constant output. After one powerful conversation with a spiritual teacher he hadn't spoken to in years, he began asking himself questions he'd avoided for a decade. Within weeks, his schedule changed. His goals changed. His entire energy shifted from proving to being. Now, his clients don't hire him for what he produces. They hire him for the clarity he holds. Gemini, this final gate isn't about doing more. It's about being deeply rooted in what's already shifted. This is where integration begins, where you no longer need the external world to mirror back your evolution for it to be real. You feel it in your bones, in your breath, in your ability to pause, to listen, to walk away when something doesn't serve your spirit. And from this space, new creations will flow, not forced, not scheduled, but birthed from alignment. You'll begin to attract opportunities that already match your frequency, not one to have a chase or bend yourself to fit. You'll speak and people will listen, not because you're loud, but because your words are laced with presence. You'll rest and feel more productive than when you hustled, because your energy is finally yours again. This is what leadership looks like now. Quiet strength, gentle authority, loving detachment, a calm nervous system in a chaotic world. You're no longer seeking center. You are the center. And from that place, your impact expands, not by effort, but by essence. So if you find yourself speaking less, trusting more, saying no faster, laughing deeper, it's not because you're becoming passive. It's because you've reclaimed your frequency. The old you needed feedback to feel safe. This new you is safe within. The old you feared disappointing others. This new you fears abandoning yourself. The old you is always doing. The new you is always being, and letting the doing emerge naturally from that state. Gemini, you are now the calm after the call. You are the still point in the center of the spiral. And in that stillness, others will find their reflection. You don't need to teach them, fix them, or convince them. Just be. Your alignment is louder than any lecture. Your peace is more persuasive than any performance. Let life revolve around your inner truth now. Let the relationships that stayed adjust to your rhythm. Let the ones that didn't fall away without drama. Let your days be designed not for survival, but for resonance. And most of all, let yourself enjoy what you become. Because Gemini, this is no longer about healing from the past. It's about living from the healed version of you. Conclusion, the call was only the beginning. You are the real shift. What if the most powerful moment of your life wasn't the phone call itself, but who you became after answering it? This journey was never just about a message. It was about your response, about your willingness to listen, not only with your ears, but with your entire being, about your choice to act, not out of fear or obligation, but out of alignment. Because that one moment of saying yes to the unknown became a sacred doorway into clarity, into sovereignty, into a life that finally mirrors who you truly are. Now, you stand in a reality that once felt distant. And yet, here you are, breathing it in, living it. You're no longer asking for signs because you have become one. You're no longer searching for timing because you are in perfect rhythm with your soul. You are no longer the person waiting for permission to move forward. You are already in motion. Let this be your reminder. You didn't need to know every detail. You only needed to trust the invitation. The universe sent the signal. You picked up the line. And together, you co-created something that can never be undone, your alignment. So take a breath, Gemini. Celebrate your own courage. honor the peace you've earned, and hold space for the versions of yourself that are still integrating what just changed. If this message resonated with your journey, if you felt something shift within you, or if you too are standing in front of a decision that could reshape everything, I invite you to share in the comments. Your story could be the call someone else is waiting for. Subscribe for more guidance, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one led by the clearest, most embodied version of you.